Have you ever been so angry at someone that it felt like a fire was burning inside your chest? Maybe they said something hurtful, ignored you, or just treated you unfairly. You felt that storm in your mind, that heavy feeling that just wouldn't go away. We've all been there. But what if I told you there's a way to reclaim your peace, a way to never let anyone's negativity control you again? This story might just change the way you see things forever. Once, in a small village, lived a young man named Karan. Karan was a good person, but he had one major problem. His temper was as quick as lightning. The smallest thing could set him off. If someone cut him off on the road, he'd lean on his horn. If a shopkeeper was a little slow, he'd get impatient and snap. If a friend made a thoughtless joke, he'd immediately feel insulted and start a heated argument. Every time this happened, the result was the same. The initial burst of anger would fade, leaving behind a bitter aftertaste of guilt and exhaustion. He'd lie awake at night, replaying the arguments in his head, feeling drained and ashamed of his own reactions. He felt trapped in a cycle of anger and regret. He wanted to be a calm, kind person, but it felt like the world was constantly provoking him, pushing his buttons, and he just couldn't help but react. One morning, after a particularly bad argument with a neighbor, Karan felt he'd finally had enough. He was tired of being a slave to his emotions. He'd heard whispers about a wise old monk who lived in a small monastery on a hill overlooking the village. People said this monk had a special kind of wisdom, a deep understanding of the human mind. Desperate for a solution, Karan decided to seek him out. He made the journey up the winding path to the monastery. The air grew cleaner and quieter with each step. When he arrived, he found the monk sitting peacefully in a garden, tending to his plants. He was an old man with kind eyes that seemed to hold a universe of calm within them. Karan approached him, his heart heavy. "Master," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "I need your help. I am tired of being angry. I hate this feeling that takes over me. People say and do things that hurt me, and I can't stop myself from reacting. It's like a poison, and it's ruining my life. Please, can you teach me how to stop?" The monk looked up from his work, his gaze gentle and understanding. He didn't offer any complex philosophy or a magic cure. Instead, he simply smiled and said, "Come with me, my son." He led Karan out of the garden and down a quiet path that ended at the edge of a beautiful, serene lake. The water was perfectly still, like a sheet of glass, reflecting the clear blue sky and the surrounding trees. Not a single ripple disturbed its surface. It was the picture of perfect tranquility. The monk gestured for Karan to sit beside him on the bank. For a few minutes they sat in silence, just watching the water. Then the monk reached down, picked up a large, heavy stone, and without a word he threw it right into the middle of the lake. Splash! The calm surface was instantly shattered. The stone disappeared beneath the water, but its impact sent ripples spreading out in every direction, disturbing the entire lake. The reflection of the sky broke into 1,000 shimmering pieces. Slowly, very slowly, the ripples lost their energy and the water began to settle. After a few long moments, the lake returned to its original state of calm. The monk turned to Karan, who had been watching intently. "Tell me," the monk asked, his voice soft but clear. "Once the stone is thrown, can you reach into the water and stop the ripples from spreading?" Karan thought for a moment. "No, master," he said. "Of course not. Once they've started, you can't stop them. You just have to wait for them to fade away on their own." The monk nodded slowly, a knowing look in his eyes. "Exactly. Your anger is just like those ripples. The words and actions of other people are like the stone thrown into the water. When you react, when you let their negativity hit you, it creates ripples of anger, frustration, and stress inside your mind. And just like you said, once those ripples start, they are very difficult to stop. They disturb your inner peace, they cloud your judgment, and they exhaust your spirit." He paused, letting the words sink in. "But," he continued, What if you don't throw the stone in the first place? What if you don't react? If the stone is never thrown, the water remains calm. Your peace remains unbroken. Karan was intrigued, but also confused. But master, he protested, I'm not the one throwing the stone. It's the other people. They are rude. They are inconsiderate. They are the ones who make me angry. How can I stop them from throwing their stones at me? The monk smiled again, a warm and patient smile. Let me ask you another question, he said. Imagine someone comes to you with a gift. They hold it out to you, wanting you to take it. But you look at the gift and you decide you don't want it, so you politely refuse to accept it. Now tell me, who does that gift belong to? Karan answered without hesitation. Well, it still belongs to the person who tried to give it. The giver. Precisely, the monk exclaimed, his eyes twinkling. And anger, insults, negativity, they are exactly the same. Think of them as unwanted gifts. When someone directs their anger towards you, when they try to hand you their insults and their negativity, you have a choice. You do not have to accept their gift. You can choose to leave it with them. Let it remain their problem, not yours. Don't let their poison enter your heart and become your own. Karan stood there, completely still, staring at the now calm lake. It was as if a light had switched on in his mind. He finally understood. The world will always have rude people, thoughtless comments, and frustrating situations. There will always be stones. But his peace wasn't dependent on the world changing. It was dependent on his choice not to accept the negativity. His inner peace was his own responsibility. From that day forward, Karan's life began to change. Whenever he felt that old familiar spark of anger rising, he would picture the calm lake and remember the monk's words. When a driver cut him off, instead of reacting, he would take a deep breath and think, I do not accept your gift of stress. When a customer was rude, he would smile politely and think, your anger belongs to you, not me. He remembered, if you don't throw the stone, the water stays calm. It wasn't easy at first. It took practice and patience. But slowly and surely, the raging fire of anger inside him began to cool. It transformed from a destructive force into a gentle, warm light. He stopped shouting and started breathing. He stopped reacting and started observing. And for the first time in a long time, Karan felt truly peaceful, truly in control of himself. He became known not for his temper, but for his unshakable calm. So the next time someone tries to hand you their anger, remember this story. Remember that you have a choice. You don't have to accept their gift. You can protect your inner peace. No one can disturb your calm unless you allow them to. Keep your inner lake still. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you and brought you a sense of calm, please consider subscribing to our channel. We share simple stories with powerful lessons every week to help you find more peace and strength in your daily life. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next one.